That story you can find on YouTube. Click on My Way to Islam, Bilal Phillips, it's there. I gave the whole talk in Australia, it's recorded up on YouTube. But briefly, I can just say that I went from Christianity as a nominal Christian. Nominal meaning, like Muslims who are nominal Muslims, they're Muslim in name. I was a Christian in name, went to church, but I wasn't involved in what was going on there. You know, the minister would be up there talking, I'd be there with my friends chatting. Later on, as you got older, we go to Bible class or whatever. We went to Bible class to meet the girls. You know? So that was a nominal Christian. You know? When I went to university and my understanding of the world and what was going on around me was opened up, and I realized that there was this oppression and injustice and all these things going on around the world, I wanted to be a part of some movement for change. And at the time when I was in the university, professors, Jewish professors there, were promoting communism amongst the youth. So I heard enough of it and became a communist. And I read, studied, and gave da'wah to communism. That went on for a few years, but the more I read, the more I became disillusioned. The more I moved with the Communist Party members, the more I realized that these people have no morals. We wanted to remove the existing president, but if any one of these guys got there, he would be worse. You know? And communism couldn't compete with capitalism economically. Communism, fundamentally an economic theory, couldn't compete with capitalism. In the beginning it was wild, but then they got left in the dust. They couldn't compete. So I felt there was a vacuum there. This really wasn't the answer. And at a time when I was in that doubtful state, one of the members of the Central Committee of the group that I belong to, the Communist Party group, she accepted Islam. And I was shocked because I was a basic Marxist-Leninist, Russian type. She was a Maoist, hardcore, memorized Mao's red book. So I was shocked. She accepted Islam. I said, whoa, how did you, why? What happened? You know, communism teaches you that religion is the opium of the masses. It intoxicates them so that the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, can exploit them. So how? She said, it's different. I said, what do you mean it's different? Islam is different. I had been to the States before and visited one of the centers of the Nation of Islam. I visited it. And I was impressed by the way they organized themselves. But when I listened to their theology, what is their theology? White people are devils, black people are gods. Hey, it's nonsense. It's total nonsense. I could never be a part of that. So I said, how is that? I mean, these people are talking nonsense. He said, no. They're not Muslims. They call themselves Muslims, Nation of Islam. Later on, I called them the Nation of Mislam. Right? She said, no, real Islam is something else. It has nothing to do with color and these kind of things. So I said, okay, give me some books, let me read. And I began to read. And the book by Muhammad Qutb called Islam, the Misunderstood Religion. When I read that, and I'd read a book by Maududi, Towards Understanding Islam, just before that, it was good. But when I read Islam, the Misunderstood Religion, that was it. That was it. Because that book was written from a political perspective, comparing between communism, capitalism, socialism, Christianity, Islam, from social, economic, spiritual, from all the different perspectives. And systematically he just showed Islam was the answer. So after I finished reading that book, that was it for me. I was convinced. But that wasn't enough for me now to become a believer in God, because I'd been denying God's existence for years. I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God. So you don't just flip overnight. It's not like a light switch. You turn it on, it's on. You turn it off, it's off. So it took a while for me to bring God back into my life, to realize God as a reality in my life. Once that happened, which was some months later, I accepted Islam. And after becoming a Muslim, the group of people that I was around, some new Muslims, and the brother who gave me Shahada, he was here in the Emirates, in Malaysia, not too long ago, Dr. Abdullah Hakim Quick. I don't know if some of you have attended some of his lectures. He's been here. He is the person who gave me Shahada. Anyway, the point is that at that time, the most active group of Muslims that I saw was Jamaat Tabligh. Right? We had the leading representative for the Jamaat in North America there was with us. He was nicknamed Colonel Saab. He used to be a colonel in the Indian military. His mom was a British woman, father was an Indian. Big, tall, imposing individual, turban, very active, dynamic. So we went out with him. 3 days. Then I ended up on the 4 months, went to the UK, based on the fact that I was told, because I wanted to gain knowledge of Islam, and we didn't have any books at the time. Sahih Bukhari, only volume 1 was translated into English. 1 and 2, something like this. So it was incomplete. Very little literature. In fact, most of the literature available was Ahmadi. They had translated a lot of material, and that was mostly available in English. So I was told that in England, they had many mosques, and in every mosque, there was a scholar, a Maulana, who I could study under. So I said, let me go get that knowledge. So I went out, the Jamaat traveled. They had an ijtima there in Dewsbury. And afterwards, I stayed on to complete the 4 months, going from masjid to masjid. I would sit down with the Maulana with my notebooks, and I would ask questions and write down the answers. After doing that, I was told that on one hand, I should focus on what I had been taught. I should read only the book Fazail Amal. That's the only book I needed to read. And I was told that very plainly when I had gone to a bookstore, bought a stack of books. I came walking back in the masjid with a stack of books, and the Jamaat brothers said, "Oh, what do you got there?" I said, "I got a stack of Islamic books." I said, "Where did you get it from?" "From such and such a bookstore." I said, "Oh." I said, "What's wrong here?" These books, you don't know the intention of the one who wrote them. So, leave that. Fazail A'mal, we know the intention of the author. Solid book, you keep reading that. I'd already read it like 4 times. They said, yeah, read it some more. Of course, my background, of reading and wanting to gain knowledge, it left me suspicious. I didn't really like that. It was like a nasty taste in my mouth. And also, I found that they like to tell stories. Fantastic stories. When this guy went out on the Jamaat, that happened. Wow. This happened. Oh boy. I told him, listen, I want to go and learn some Arabic. They said, no, you don't need to go. I want to go to Mecca or Medina. He said, no, you don't need to go to Mecca and Medina. The light of Islam has left Mecca and Medina, and it is in Nizamabad in North India, where Hazrat Ji, the head of the Jamaat, lives. And that light is so powerful that when Hindus walk the street and they pass by his house, they're hit. They come walking in, Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I'm hearing these stories, I say, oh boy, that's a tough one. So, they told me that whilst we were in Ijtima, that they were having a spiritual bath.